Okay, so same people, and welcome back to your favorite YouTube channel. So today, guys, like always, another weekly analysis for you. On the screen are the pairs we'll be analyzing today, but make sure you do stay to the end of the video because I do have a bonus pair in store. But yeah, guys, no trades for the week for me. The first week of 2024, spent the week on the sidelines. A few pairs I was looking at in particular pound Aodu, which was looking pretty good towards the end of the week, but didn't quite see the entry setup I was looking for. So I'll keep my focus on that pair into the following week, into next week, but nothing quite sat up how I wanted it to, which of course, as a swing trader, times like that do come and go, but we shall see what's in store for next week. So first things first, Euro USD. So for this one, still, I do have a shorter term bearish bias. If you did catch last week's episode, I was talking about Euro USD looking for some downside, for some longer term upside. I do think the longer term goal, well, my longer term target is still the wick high up here, 1.125. So that's still where I do see Euro USD heading towards. However, we're having a tough time trying to break through 1.105 in the weekly time frame. As we can see here, big piercing wick through that zone. Last week's candle, we can see here as well, was acting as resistance pretty well. And again, we're having a hard time trying to break through. And of course, we've seen some bearish momentum this week as well. So as long as price is rejecting this area and in this vicinity over here, I'm not really interested in buying the market because we're coming back into a big area. I'd rather we pull back a little bit greater. There's a big level here. That could definitely interest me for some buys, or if we do break through the level, then a retest of that would interest me, of course. At least I've got that to my back and I can use that as confluence, as a big support level to help me take advantage of some longs. So for above that area, longs do look good, back to the high and probably further as well. Or if we do come a little bit deeper, then I can start looking for some buys again. So that's how I'm looking to tackle my longer term bullish bias. But right now, as we can see, we're still holding that level of resistance. So I'm still looking for some sells for a move back down again. We're still holding to that level pretty well. We had an NFP on Friday, which kind of saw price do a little bit of both. We were a little bit bearish, then a little bit bullish. As you can see, we kind of closed as a doji there, so the price didn't really go anywhere. I'm kind of just boxing this off as consolidation and looking at that as waiting for price to break through that range, and then I can start looking for some shorts. So what I'm looking for Euro USD next week for that shorter term sell move is something like this. If we can break through the consolidation, get a nice retest, now I can be looking at some shorts back down to these areas, and of course potentially the daily zone just underneath us, which is more or less around 1.07. So this is kind of the setup I'm looking for. See if we can get a breaking retest to that low, break out the consolidation, and then look for some short opportunities back to the prior swing low, which is this move here, which gave us those highs, of course. But we've really had a really sharp move to the downside, so it does look like the market is most likely going to pull away from this level. We had a really strong move up and a really strong move down, kind of giving us a V-shaped pattern, which typically does mean we're likely to reverse. So I'm looking for the shorts at the moment. We're kind of seeing choppy price action. I'm looking to see if we can come back into the low here. We do have a big zone here, but in terms of targets, I'd probably be more than happy with a short back into the low here at 1.075. So that's kind of my plan for next week for Euro USD. Still looking at taking advantage of some short-term downside, but a key element that I do want to see happens, of course, is a strong break of these lows, break out that range. If we just stay in that range, then I'm not really interested in price. We might break up, might break down. I'm not really looking to investigate too much in this area, but if you do see a sharp move, then some shorts do interest me on the retest of 1.09 and some shorts back into that price swing low at 1.075. So that will be the plan next week for Euro USD. Okay, so on to dollar yen. So dollar yen, actually do like the price action now. I mean, last week I was pretty bearish on the pair, but I did say I'm not really looking to short the pair because the market has been trending to the downside for quite a while. I want to see a bigger retracement onto a bigger level, and then I can start looking for some shorts again, because at the moment, or at the time of recording, the price was getting a little bit exhausted and the trend was a little bit depleted. So I want to see a bit of life come back into the market and then some shorts, which is kind of what we've seen this week's bullish move back into 145 into a big level resistance. You can see we have well and truly broken out of this bullish ascending channel. We rejected the highs up there. Potentially a big double top pattern could be brewing up. So I'm looking at another big move to the downside for dollar yen back to 138. potentially further if we do break through. But at the moment, we have pulled back into this high here at 145. You can see Friday's candle there, big wick to the upside, closes doji, so it's failing to break through. As long as we can maintain that level, I do think shorts look very, very good, and looking for a move back down to 138. On the other hand, if you do break through this, then I do think longs will look just as good potentially as well, depending how we set up. Because if we do clear back above the higher 145 with a confident move above it, I do think the probability will lie again with the buyers and probably just see price push back to 150. You can see overall the momentum is still very much to the upside. We're seeing some signs that the bears are creeping in, but again, we haven't taken out any key structure yet for me to say that this market is bearish. We're still overall bullish, but it will be very, very interesting to see how we react with 145. If you do see a big break above, start holding as support, then I'll be expecting us to just complete the range back into the high. If we don't and we fail and reject that level, then I'll be looking for some shorts. So we're on a really pivotal level, which kind of does dictate my bias of what I'm looking next for dollar yen. At the moment, of course, we had NFP, which gave us a big move up, big move down. So I want to see a bit more development, see if we can hang on to this level, maybe break some structure, retest, and then some shorts will be looking good. Of course, the exact opposite, if we break through, retest the high, then it could be some nice buys going back up again. So I can see dollar yen going both ways. We have seen a lot of yen weakness at the moment, so yen pairs have been flying at the moment, and that might potentially continue. If it does, we see dollar yen doing that as well. I'll wait for some strong daily closes, candle closes above 145, telling us, okay, we've broken above that level of resistance. Now we can use it as support. Then yeah, looking for some pullbacks back to 150 looks pretty good. And of course, the same going the other way as well, looking for some sales back to 138 if we do hold 145. So keep an eye on that level, see how we react with that level in respect to the full H daily candles importantly as well. And then we could be looking at some sales back down to 138 or buys back up to 150. Okay, so up next we've got dollar CAD. The dollar CAD is still stuck in that larger range. If we go to the weekly chart, you can see a little bit more clearer. So of course, we've got the equal highs up there, equal lows here. You can see the market is holding it onto the low of the range there, so we might see some more upside. So for dollar CAD, not really the pair on my watch list out of the dollar pairs. I'm looking for trending conditions. Market right now is kind of stuck in a bigger range, and I can see better opportunities across the board with the dollar pairs alone. So dollar CAD is not really one of the pairs I'm looking at, but if I was looking to trade this, I'm looking to buy low, sell high. For me, that's the best way to tackle a range. When price is near the low of the range, you're looking for buying opportunities, and of course the exact opposite when price is at the high. So right now we're kind of trading a little bit above the low of the range. I'd like to see price come back down near enough to 1.325, retest some highs here. We did have this nice level of resistance, which price did have a pretty big sell-off just before the new year, and then price broke pretty aggressively. We could see a retest of that area for price to continue higher, which does make a lot of sense. Potentially we might not come back and revisit. We could just kind of break higher, because right now it does look like we do have a bit of a consolidation right now, equal highs, equal lows, and price is kind of throwing wicks up and down, maybe catching some people on the wrong side there. So I'll wait to see if we can come a little bit low to the low of the range. 1.325 looks attractive. In terms of targets, possibly, of course, we could see a massive swing back to the high. If you're looking for a bit more of a position trade, a long-term swing trade, then that could be something up your street. But I'll probably pay attention to some of these areas here, which price is already reacting with that prior low. Of course, term resistance, that could be a nice target. Or if you want to push it a little bit further, then you do have this 1.35 area-ish, just below 1.35, 1.34750. That could be a nice area to target, but I'll probably pay it a little bit more safer than usual, because we are ranging. I wouldn't try and push trades too far in a ranging market. So keep an eye on 1.33500 as a level of resistance as a target. But in terms of buying, I would like to price to come a little bit deeper, retrace, retest some prior resistance, which we broke through, never had a retest of. So there's a good chance we could react to that level and see some upside. So this is kind of the full process, the plan going into next week for dollar CAD. Okay, so onto Euro Pound. So Euro Pound, we've seen some nice downside this week. Again, this is the move we're kind of looking for, still expecting a bit more downside into this level of support in the daily time frame. trading around the 0.857, 0.856 level. So still a bit more juice to squeeze in this bearish move. So if you can get some pullbacks this week, I think those will be great opportunities to get into some shorts and ride the move down into that big level of support. So the areas I'm looking at would, well, I said areas as in plural, but there's only one area that I would look to short euro pound from, which would be this support here, which we did break through, no retest of. So if we can see a retest of that level, that would be fantastic, and there's a good chance we can hold on to it. But would we see a pullback all the way up there? I'm not too sure we will. Euro pound is seeing a lot of momentum right now. We've kind of had a pretty big follow through, so at best we might just see a retest of these areas here on the lower time frames and see some continuation off those lower time frame levels. So it's up to you how you're looking to tackle euro pound. That level's a little bit too niche for me. I'm not really liking the length of the breakout, and it's just a little bit too in terms of the risk reward, not worth it. And of course the conditions are not great. I'd rather price as a bigger pullback, especially in these choppy conditions on euro pound. Then I'll be looking to take my positions there. So 0.865 looks pretty attractive to me. If you do see a bigger pullback to that level, I would expect the market to continue lower back into that daily level of support. But if you're on the lower time frames, then do keep an eye on 0.861 as well. You might only just see a pullback to retest that area and some more downside. But yeah, euro pound still looks pretty bearish, seeing a lot of momentum in the higher time frames. We're seeing that kind of trickle lower, so still looking for some shorts. At least we get back into that level, then we can plan our next move from there. But yeah, still looking at more downside back to 0.857, and some shorts from 0.865 looks pretty good for next week. Okay, so onto Aussie dollars. We've seen some nice downside this week as expected. Didn't really see any good opportunities to get involved, at least on the 4H time frames. Maybe the low time frames you can find some smaller pullbacks, but we did come into a big level of resistance, high time frame supply, where we did see this big move taking out these lows, lower lows, and now we pull back into the same area. So predominantly speaking, looking for selling opportunities in these areas here. We've seen a nice bearish engulfing candle led to the downside as well. So I'm expecting more downside next week. However, at the moment, we are hanging on to some prior resistance turn support, and as you can see, the market is holding that. So we could see a move to the upside for next week, but I am expecting that to be short-lived for us to break back down again. Now is not the best time to be looking for some shorts coming into this prior level of resistance now acting as support. So on the 4H time frame, I'm looking at this area here, not the strongest level in the world, but is our prior low, which we kind of broke through. Didn't really see initial retest of that. We could see a bigger pullback, a lower high, and some more downside coming from this 0.68 higher time frame level of resistance. So I'm still looking for some more downside, some selling opportunities for AU. At the moment, not really seeing that. This could just be a pullback for the market to continue bullish. Of course, we are holding that as support right now. So again, now's not the best time to be looking to sell. If we start breaking through, then potentially some sells underneath become interesting. And again, looking for some moves back down into these areas here. 0.656 is where we did see a lot of bullish momentum come from. So I do think we can get a nice move back down to those areas. Risk reward looks pretty good, of course. Don't necessarily have to take the trade that far. Back to these lows, you know, will make a lot of sense there as well. But Aussie dollar still looking at more downside, predominantly speaking. Most dollar pairs, I'm still looking for a bit more dollar strength in the market, which does mean pairs like Euro, Pound USD, Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar. Probably can see a bit more downside for them, but of course, looking for setups, looking for entries, not just trading that blindly. But this is what I'm looking at for Aussie dollar next week. Keep an eye on 0.67862 for some upside, and then some sells if we can hold into that level. But looking for some more downside for Aussie dollar next week. Okay, so on to NZD CAD. So very choppy price action, still consolidating, difficult to maneuver around and find some good quality setups. I was looking for a breakout to the upside this week, hence why I had this one on my watch list, because the breakout looked imminent, but we rejected the high and we came back down. Now we're rejecting the lows as well, and we are still kind of trading above a pretty big level in the higher time frames. This is the monthly time frame. Big level of support and resistance. So I'm looking to see if we can hold this level. There could be a big move back to 0.86 potentially. If you do break back underneath, I'm looking for price to come back to these areas and these areas as well. So it's a very pivotal area we are kind of consolidating around. But I need to see which way we break. If we do break to the upside, buys look good. Back to these areas, we've got a higher time frame level there on the monthly as well. Could see this trend really just kick on to the upside, and looking just to buy the pullbacks on the way up. But if we do reverse and we see price come crashing down, and again looking for some sells back down to these areas here. So either which way, we do have pretty clear targets going up and down, just waiting for price to give us the direction, give us the signal, and then looking for the pullbacks shortly after. So at the moment, we are still trading above 0.83, so I do fancy New Zealand CAD, breaking higher. But if it does break to the downside, I quickly change my bias and I'm looking for sales. I'm not really too concerned which way we break, because there's opportunities going both ways. But the one key thing is that we do need to break for me to actually be looking for trading opportunities. But if we can get below 0.828, see some confident breaks through there, then simply looking for the retest of those areas. Same thing to the upside as well, break above 0.841, looking for some buys. We've got a nice swing high around 0.85. That could be our first nice target. In terms of the sales, could start looking at some of these areas here for some first targets, and continue to sell on the pullbacks. But this is kind of my thought process for next week for NZD CAD, waiting for the break out of this messy consolidation, and then I can start looking for some pullbacks and some trading opportunities. So that'll be the plan next week for NZD CAD. Okay, so pound NZD, the bearish bias is still intact, still looking at more downside. If I quickly scale to the higher time frames, you can see we have broken above, or broken back below, I should say, a very important level here around 2.04. This was a very pivotal area, which originally I was looking for a breaking retest for the market to go higher, but we failed. We cracked below, and now we're holding that as resistance. So if you can maintain below that level there, I do think there's a lot of downside to be had for pound NZD. These areas, potentially these areas as well. Of course, we'll discuss that as time continues. But right now, I'm looking for price to hold this area for a move to the downside. And that, of course, does translate to some nice price action on the lower time frames, particularly the 4H. You can see we do have a pretty established bearish trend at this point in time. So I'm looking for this to continue, pull back into a nice area of confluence, connecting those lower highs, retesting some price support, term resistance. So if you can hold this area going into next week, there could be some nice selling opportunities. It is a little bit choppy in this area, and quite frankly, the market's kind of consolidating in here. If I drop to the hourly, you can see we're kind of just consolidating. So if we can see some momentum breaking through, that could be a nice signal to start looking to sell. Stop loss above that area. Targets, depending how far you want to push the trade. You've of course got the lows here around 2.007, and of course, as I discussed in the higher time frame, you've got these areas here where I expect the market to end up as well, which is, did not mean to do that, which is around 1.98 as well. So it depends how far you want to push the trade, your management plan and all that. But in terms of the opportunity, still looking for more downside, and we're trading at a very nice area with some good confidence. So I'm looking for price to hold this area. We've seen some signs that price is doing that, but now I want to see some momentum from the bears coming in and kind of breaking out that consolidation. Then I can start looking for some entries. So that's the plan next week for pound NZD. Let's see if we can hold the 2.038 area, and if you see some nice entry signals, looking to short back into the low at 2.005 and then eventually 1.98. Okay, so up next we've got CAD Yen. So CAD Yen was very strong this week, did see a strong move to the upside. Haven't really broken through this area of resistance just yet. We did have a pretty impressive candle on Thursday, but then Friday wicked higher and then did close bearish just underneath the level. So I would still say we're holding that as resistance. So still looking for more downside. If we kind of break through Monday, Tuesday, see some confident bullish candles closing above, then of course that area is well and truly broken, and we're looking for something like this back to the highs at 110, 111, 110, 500, 111-ish, back at those highs. But at the moment, we're still holding resistance. So what I'm looking at on the 4H time frame, if I just move this out of the way, is some selling opportunities if we can break back below this level of resistance. We had a nice double top last week or the week before. I'm looking to see if we can get back below this area, retest it, and then that's when I'll look for my selling opportunities to take it back down to the same lows I was talking about last week around 105, which is this big level of support. So that's still the plan for CAD Yen. Still looking at this as potentially the next lower high. I had one over there, second over there, and potentially the third of that wick. And if we can hold and get back below that 4H level resistance, there's a good chance we'll see that lower high form and a continuation back to the low here. So I'm still looking at the market kind of slowly reversing to the upside. Of course, like I said, if we do see a strong candle close breaking back above this zone 108, 300 on Monday, Tuesday, or whatever day it be, then of course I will scrap that bearish bias and look for the retest for some buys back up to 110, 500, 111. So I can see price going both ways. Similar opportunity to dollar yen in terms of we do have a critical level which price is kind of dancing around. Depending whether we reject that level and see some downside from it, there could be some nice sells, or if we do break through, we're looking for the retest and some continuations back to the highs. So you can see price go both ways, but at the moment we're still holding to the level resistance. Did see a nice wick there, so we can get below. Focusing on the shorts there, back to 105, and now will be the plan for next week for CAD yen. Okay, and on to pound USD now. So pound USD still showing a lot of signs of exhaustion with this bullish momentum, this bullish trend that we've seen over the past kind of month or two. The market does look like it's running out of juice and possibly getting ready for some downside. So again, still focusing on the shorts. I'm not really looking at taking the market up higher. I know that we haven't really broken through any major lows yet. If I go to the 4H time frame, you can see price is still printing higher highs and higher lows. Now, last kind of major low was this one, which gave us the higher highs. Price is actually still kind of respecting that same low, but I can see that judging from the price action, the frequent pullbacks, the depth of the pullbacks as well, that most likely the market is getting ready to move lower. Could be wrong, of course, but this is definitely just not a market that I would look to follow to the upside anymore. I'm more interested in some counter trend moves. So what I want to see next week is a strong break of this low here, break that structure, break some lows. And at that point, you do have a bit of a bearish structure to trade with and look for some retest of. So the original high up there, low, lower high, lower low. And now shorts become very, very interesting on a retest of 1.2615 and taking that back down to this area here potentially. That could be a nice target just to take a profit and move on. Of course, we do have some daily big levels here. Prior resistance over there could be turned support, and we could see price coming back for another retest of that level. So that looks like a nice place to place a take profit as well. So I'm looking for some downside for pound USD. I wouldn't say the market is bearish yet, but it looks like we are seeing a potential move lower with the lack of bullish momentum. We had NFP kind of really drive price higher, but price is now kind of fading to take up the highs there as well, and potentially forming potentially a head and shoulder pattern. Of course, the neckline, if you can break through, would be the important critical characteristic we're looking for us to now start really looking for sells. So that's the idea next week for pound USD, looking for another lower high around 1.26, waiting for the break first though. If I see a strong break, then the shorts look good. Then of course targets around 1.25 and 1.245 for next week. Okay, so on to pound CAD. So pound CAD, I did say I'm looking for buys this week. Almost got an entry signal for the trade. Didn't quite form how I wanted it to, and I'll show you guys in a moment. But we are looking at a move higher for pound CAD back to the highs here around 1.72, 1.725. We do have a strong area of confluence. We had a nice 50% pullback of this bullish move here. Let's make sure we can see that. There we go. So we had a nice 50% pullback into that area. Also came back into a big level of former resistance on the daily chart. Now holding as support. So we've got that confluence there as well. And I've also been talking about this inverse head and shoulder pattern, which price has just come into now as well. So looking for that follow through in that right leg back to the highs there around 1.725, 1.72. So that is the plan, and that's the direction I'm looking to trade in for pound CAD. And I almost found a opportunity to long the market on a retest. Originally I was looking for the retest of this area, but then as the week progressed, I was looking for the retest of this area, which we did see a nice wick into. Now we'll look for some buys in this area, but I only take my entries on the hourly time frame, and there was no entry signal. There was a nice wick to this level. If this bullish candle engulfed that prior bearish candle, then I would look to take the entry, something like that, with stop loss just below. So that would have been a nice entry there, but we kind of pulled back just before the candle closed, and then we had this big candle taking out the highs, and at that point the move is kind of ready underway. So the entry would have been a little bit too late there for me. So missed the entry there in pound CAD. Well, not really missed, there was no entry for me to take. But potentially, if we do see the market kind of continue higher a little bit further, then I will be looking for a retest of this area. Right now, the breakout's a little bit too shallow. You can see we just about closed above. Now we're printing some wicks a little bit higher there, so it's not a convincing break. I want price to kind of push away a little bit further, and then I'll consult this level for some longs and look for some entries, just like I was doing over there, with targets back at that area 1.71, and then 1.725 as well. So I still do see a lot more upside for pound CAD, looking for the retest of 1.69650. But yeah, I do need to see price kind of push away a little bit further, and then I'll be looking for the pullbacks to buy back up again. But that will be the plan next week for pound CAD. So on to pound yen. So pound yen still looking for some counter trend opportunities, nothing quite cemented just yet. We are starting to test the big level, which could provide some shorts going into next week. So I will touch upon that, but I'm not really interested in looking for longs anymore for pound yen. Yes, the market is still bullish. We're still seeing higher highs and higher lows, but you can see how corrective it is. The market is starting to move in this ascending channel, this ascending nature, very corrective, frequent deep pullbacks, not really a sign that the market has much energy left to the upside. Of course, we could still see a move higher, but if it still stays within that channel, I'm going to be waiting for some bigger sells to the downside. And we're also in some really interesting areas in the higher time frames. You can see previously when we were here, big sell up to the downside, a lot of momentum, and now we're coming back to the same areas for the first time. So I do think there could be some downside for pound yen as well. So I'm waiting for some bearish opportunities, not really interested in buying the market anymore. There is a big level here, which I was just talking about previously, around 183,700, which if we can maintain, I do think there's a good chance we can see some downside back to the lows, because well and truly we do have a bit of a ranging market here for pound yen. If you just focus on this price action here, you can see it better in the full H, so equal highs there, equal lows. If we hold this area again, could see some nice shorts back down to 179 and possibly beyond as well. If we do break through, then I'm looking at price coming to these areas respectively. So we've got this level as the first target, and of course you've got the swing highs up there as a second target. So if price does actually start breaking through this daily level, then you're looking at buys, back into those areas, depending how far you want to push the trade. This makes sense, and of course that high there makes sense as well. But very important level we're testing right now, 184. Are we going to continue this lower time frame range, or we're going to break out and see the trend continue? So you can kind of see that the yen pairs, at least the yen pairs we've gone through, pound yen, CAD yen, and dollar yen, all coming to some big levels, which if you do break through, it does make sense for price to continue high. And of course, if price does hold the level, it does make sense for price to see some downside as well. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the yen pairs next week, in particular with how they react with those levels. And I do think whether we're seeing upside or downside, they're going to get some nice swings happening pretty soon. So keep an eye on 184. Let's see how price reacts with that Monday London session. If we're throwing wicks, still rejecting it, there could be some nice shorts to follow. If price is just booming straight through, then of course we're looking for some pullbacks and retests, and continue that back to first target 186,400, and then up there 188,500. So that'll be the plan next week for pound yen. Okay, so on to gold. So gold, I'm only interested in selling at these prices. We're still trading in that weekly level of resistance, 2050, 2060, still a big level of resistance, the all-time high resistance, of course. Market's still holding on to that. Of course, we had the big wick to the upside. And again, longer term, I am still bullish on gold. I still do think gold has a lot more upside to offer and get back to the wick highs. But the only setup that interests me or makes sense for me in terms of a buy setup would definitely be if gold sees some nice momentum, breaks through the high here at 2090, then I can start looking for some retest above that. At least I've cleared away from that weekly level resistance. We can potentially use that as support, and there's a good chance we'll probably come up and fill that wick to the upside back to 2150. So this is the only buying opportunity that makes sense to me. So if you're looking for some buys from a bit more of a swing perspective, I would wait for that high to go first and look for some pullbacks after. If you're looking for some sells, which again do make sense at current prices, still holding to a big zone at the moment, currently ranging, same for other dollar pairs as well. If we can see a strong break to the downside, this could be a nice little retest to short back down into these lows here around 1980. This could make for a really nice short opportunity on the breaking me test of the low if we see a convincing break. Of course, if you continue to range, then I'm not really interested in the price action for gold anyway. But at the moment, the market's still holding to the zone, so I've got to favor the shorts unless we see a sudden change of momentum and price just break through the high. And of course, I'll quickly change around and start focusing on the longs. But at the moment, we just saw another bearish candle closing in this area here on the weekly time frame. This is the week's candle, so we can still see prices holding on to that level. So if we see some more bearish momentum, most likely we are going to see a bit more downside. So in terms of targets, I'll probably keep an eye on this low here as well. This could be a nice place to bank some partials or maybe stop loss to break even, but this is like a good target as well, around 1980. So that'll be the plan next week for gold. Okay, so onto Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's still consolidating, as we can see here. We did see a big move to the upside this week for Bitcoin, but it was short lasted. The price came straight back down, is now still trading within that consolidation. The high around 44,246 and the low around 41,243, still nestling in that consolidation. And on a bigger time frame, you can see we are trading in a big area of resistance supply. This is where a lot of bearish momentum came from, and now we're back into that same area. So again, this is where I'm expecting to see some retracement for Bitcoin. Of course, Bitcoin can exponentially just break through and keep going further. So it's very, very important that just not to be okay, we're in a place where bears could step in. Let's do short. We're waiting for signals, we're waiting for development before looking to sell. And then if we do see that downside, it's likely to be retracement. So even come back to some of these areas, buys would be looking good to take Bitcoin back up again around 36, 35k. So that's kind of the move I'm hoping we can see for Bitcoin, because this looks like a very, very nice place to pick up some longs to see if you can capitalize on the next run to the upside. At the moment, again, very choppy price action. We've had a lot of momentum previously, but it does look like the market is slowing down, and it does make sense coming to this area. So for sales, if we can break the low of the consolidation, then we can look for a retest and then find some sells there. That would make a lot of sense to me. And as I stated previously, targets around this 36, 35k level. Then depending how things settle, there could be some nice buys to take back up again and potentially just hold for the long run. Again, it's up to you how you want to manage your trade or your investment. Again, this is not investment advice, but this could be a nice place to look to see if you can hold positions a little bit longer. Of course, I would definitely pay yourself along the way, just in case we do see a bigger pullback at some stage. But it's definitely a nice place to look to try and hold a big swing for Bitcoin. So this is kind of how I'm looking to tackle Bitcoin right now. I'm not really interested in that consolidation. One price to break lower, shorts, and then buys back up again. So keep an eye on a breakout for Bitcoin. And last but not least, we've got our bonus pair, which for this week, and the same as last week, it is Pound Aussie again. So I was talking about some shorts for Pound Aussie, looking for some retracement for some sells. And now coming into this week, we kind of have seen the retracement. So now the sales are looking imminent. So Pound Aussie is at the top of my watch list going into next week. It was at the top of my watch list last week, and it still holds the top spot. Now we're actually trading in a really nice area. I'm looking to start looking for some shorts. We have seen a nice wick into this zone here, and generally speaking, I'm looking for price to hold this area and see some downside, but kind of focusing on a particular level. I'm looking at this area here. Some nice support around 1.89. I'm looking to see if we can hold that for a move down. We had NFP, which gave us a big wick into that area, but again, similar to pound NZD, the market's kind of just moving a little bit sideways in this kind of ascending channel here. So waiting for some momentum to step in, maybe another retest of that same area come Monday London session, and we see a big shift in momentum. That'll be a really nice entry signal to take the trade, stop loss above the high, and looking for a move, of course, back down to the lows. I'm looking to really stretch the trade, so I'll be looking at 1.83-ish down at these areas here, which is this prior high over there on 1.83 or just underneath it, and potentially more downside as well. But we've had a really powerful ascending channel here, which kind of turned into a big head and shoulder pattern. So the market was creating these higher highs and higher lows. If I clone that, bring that across, and then you can see eventually we've kind of broken out that structure, leaving behind a nice big head and shoulder pattern, which we saw a big break of the neckline. Now I'm simply looking for the retest of that, catch the next lower high, and kind of continue this bearish trend to the downside. So that's the plan next week for pound AUD. We're at a really nice area for some shorts, retesting nice level as well, and really healthy pullback as well, kind of breaking out this consolidation. So shorts look really good for pound Aussie. Same thing for pound NZD, which we spoke about earlier. So just looking between the two and see which give me the better entry, better risk reward as well then take the trades accordingly. So yeah, keep an eye on pound AUD. Could be some really nice shorts coming up. But guys, that does bring us to the end of the analysis. If you have found it useful, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. If you are finding the analysis, the live streams, educational, informative, really does help out the channel. Comment down below any pairs you are looking at. I'm interested to see what you guys are looking to trade next week. But guys, thank you so much for watching the video. Have a fantastic weekend, and I'll catch you all in the next one.